Our next guest is Rabbi Velly Slavin, who is a young and up-and-coming New Age rabbi, as well as the director of Chabad Malvern's Meaningful Living Center. Rabbi Velly is also the director of Jews in Recovery, a Melbourne-based Jewish recovery community where recovering addicts of all ages and all backgrounds are supported and guided with spirituality, with friendship, and with community. Rabbi, welcome. It's so special to have you here. Now, can I please ask you, you seem to be able to influence people really deeply. In social media, we now have the term influencer, which has become part of our modern language. Is there an art of being a real life influencer?
Well, thank you, Tali. That was a very kind and generous introduction. Just as a disclaimer, my 5-minute talk in no way is going to help anyone attract more followers on Instagram or earn any free stuff. I'm no maven when it comes time to social media, but I do hope that in the next 5 minutes to share some ideas on how we can be a more positive influence to our nearest and dearest. You see, it's a mistake to think that we are immune to peer pressure. Even adults can be very impressionable. Our friends, our community, our social circles influence have a very strong influence on our values and our choices. With children, it's a more overt influence, but when it comes time to adults, it's a more subtle effect that can change one's sensitivities, outlooks, or even aspirations. And just as we are shaped by our environment, we also have the ability to be proactive and be influencers. And in fact, when we focus outwardly to inspire others, we don't absorb the negativity from the atmosphere around us. We simply don't have the time to be dragged down by the negativity in our environment. And I've actually seen this time and time again with my experience in the recovery community. Recently, a recovery medicine doctor who has 20 years of recovery himself and who has helped hundreds of addicts once told me that there's nothing that can guarantee recovery. But if there was that one thing that can, it would be service. And service being the readiness to help someone who is also battling with an addiction anytime and anywhere, because addiction can be described as a disease of self-obsession. So therefore, service is the golden key out. So sponsoring or influencing a fellow addict is in no way some kind of way where the addict pays back the program, but it's in fact a crucial step to sobriety, one of the best ways to strengthen recovery. But I think this applies to everyone really, because essentially we're purposeful beings. We're not needy beings. It's ingrained in our very DNA. And we are at our best when we immerse ourselves into things beyond ourselves, especially by making positive contributions in the life of others. And we know we have the power to do this because in Genesis, when Hashem describes to Avram how numerous his descendants are going to be, Hashem describes his future descendants as he compares them to the stars in the sky. And one of my most cherished teachings from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who, as you mentioned, is the 26th yahrzeit today that we are commemorating, he teaches that upon deeper reflection, the lesson of the stars is not only in their quantity, but there is also an important lesson from their quality. You see, the stars were the original GPS system, and throughout history, and even today, stars have guided and they guide us through the vast oceans and the dangerous deserts. And we, as the descendants of Abraham, we possess the moral and the spiritual life to be stars, the moral and the spiritual light to be those stars, to be the light in someone's darkness, and to be that influence. So I'd like to conclude with two practical prerequisites, so to speak, on having impactful and positive influence. You see, I know that today the Magen David has become the symbol of Judaism. But in fact, throughout history, it was the menorah that was really the emblem of the Jewish people. The Torah instructs us that the menorah had to be fashioned and hammered from one single piece of gold. And the question is, one does not have to be a very skilled craftsman to understand how difficult it must have been to fashion the menorah from one solid piece. And in fact, the Hebrew word to describe this process is called miksha, which is related to the word kasheh, which means difficult. So why did the menorah have to be hammered, chiseled from one piece, and it could not be welded from separate pieces of gold? And the menorah, we know, represents our responsibility to be practical and spiritual inspirations to others, to assist others, to be the light for those that are experiencing darkness. And to be a menorah, to be a source of light, to be an inspiration to people around us, we need to be miksha. We need to be made from one piece. And to me, one piece really means two things. True influencing demands commitment and dedication. It's not that one day I can be caring and the next day indifference. That kind of attitude doesn't inspire others. You know, for example, when I say, call me anytime, I need to mean it. And when I get that call at an uncomfortable hour, then I have to pick it up if I've made that okay, if I've given myself up. So inspiring leadership is really being of one piece. It's honesty, it's sincerity, and it's consistency. The second lesson we can learn from the menorah being fashioned from one single piece of gold is that before we help others, we really need to know who we are ourselves. And fascinatingly, if you take a look throughout history, so many of our biblical leaders, they all experienced this time of isolation before they assumed the mantle of leadership. It was this time of introspection and this time of self-discovery. To be a lamplighter, we need to figure out our center, our priorities, our values, to ensure that we are a voice, not an echo. And we have to discover what is our oneness, which is the source of everything important in our lives. We have to know our convictions. What is it that we stand for? Do I have that core? And what is it that never fluctuates? We all have people in our lives who could be inspired and moved in the right direction. And it may just be our own unique personality, message, and delivery that can help. So go ahead, be those stars, be the star that God spoke about so many thousands of years ago.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Velly, for all that you do, and also for highlighting the importance of service in recovery and in everyday life. And also the fact that this idea of isolation before leadership and a time for us to learn ourselves, we all around the world have this time at the moment. So actually that's wonderful to be reminded of the blessing in this. So thank you so much.